Namaste, Suswagatam, and welcome to our Sunday edition of Words of Wisdom, Gyan Ganga on our Virat Hindustan Sangam various social media channels. As you know, we have to thank our viewers across the globe for watching this program Sunday after Sunday. And today, the 257th edition of our episode, which we started in the year 2020. Today we have a discussion on the budget of 2025 and Dr. Subramanian Swamy and Dr. M.R. Venkatesh, who is a CA turned advocate and an analyst and a consultant who will be discussing the budget. We also have our own team member, CA T.K. Swaminathan, who will also give his inputs along with Professor Arvind Chaturvedi and Ramesh Swamy. We thank our viewers for always watching this program, but I request our viewers to like and subscribe to our Virat Hindustan Sangam channel. With these words, it's over to Dr. Subramanian Swamy to initiate this discussion. We regret that last two Sundays we could not have this program because of the travel program and logistics of our team members. So we are back again today for your same program, which we have Sunday after Sunday. Over to Dr. Swamy.
Dr. Swamy, before you begin, we have a small video that we normally play about the forgotten freedom fighters.
Before Dr. Swamy does his introductory remarks on the topic of today, as you know, part of our Virat Hindustan Sangam project is to project the real and correct history. So today we have a very interesting queen, Rani Avantibai Lodi of Madhya Bharat, and this is what we play for your information.
Rani Avantibai Lodi was a fearless queen who stood against British rule and sacrificed her life for her people's freedom. She remains an enduring symbol of bravery and resistance in India's history. Born on August 16, 1831, in Mankedi village, Seoni district, Madhya Pradesh, she was married to King Vikramajit Singh of Ramgarh. After his tragic death in 1855, the British attempted to annex Ramgarh by declaring the king insane and her sons as minors. Rani Avantibai refused to submit and expelled the British administrators, taking charge of the kingdom. Determined to resist colonial rule, she ordered farmers not to follow British commands. She called upon other rulers to fight, famously saying, "Fight the British or wear bangles and stay at home." With an army of 4,000 warriors, she launched a fierce rebellion. Despite her valiant fight, the British overpowered her forces. To avoid capture, she chose martyrdom on March 20, 1858, becoming one of the first warrior women to die for India's freedom. To honor her legacy, the Virangana Rani Avantibai Lodi Memorial Award was established to recognize exceptional bravery among women. This award stands as a tribute to her courage and sacrifice. Rani Avantibai remains an icon of strength and patriotism. Her story continues to inspire generations to stand against oppression and fight for justice.
We pay tribute to this brave queen from Madhya Bharat.
We can start.
Over to Dr. Swamy.
Thank you, Jagdish. Every year we have this budget matter. Unfortunately, most of the people who appear to speak on behalf of the government on the budget don't know any economics. So they're just give, we have done this, we have done this, we have raised this price, we have brought that down. That kind of thing that they do. Let me just structure how we should be looking at it. We should first of all recognize that there are 4 aspects of any budget. First is the objective that you have assigned to yourself and for the country, and which you are translating it into the budget. What growth rate you can have? That's an objective. Or what is the control you're having on inflation? So these are the objectives which have to be stated. These are what we want to work for. Then you have to tell the parliament, you have to tell the country through the parliament proceedings that what is the strategy, what is the principle that you will give priority to, what we call as priorities. So what are the priorities? Which is the first priority? Is it controlling prices? Is it controlling inflation? It's all these questions that arise. We have to put this is our first priority, second priority, third priority, so on. And then the third will be, what is the strategy you are adopting? Are you just going to tax everybody, or are you going to do something else? You are going to mobilize resources by other means. You're going to print notes from the Reserve Bank. These things have to be pointed out to the public. And finally is, how do you get the resource mobilization for each of the projects that you have included and placed before the people, that this is what we are going to do in this 1 year. So if you look at our budget today or the budgets before, I've been saying it from day one that please put it in this format, these 4 things, that objectives, priorities, strategy, and then the costs that you are assigning to each of these projects. But that is not being done. So let me bring that factor into this. I would like to say that what we need to do is to grow fast. And growing fast means 10% per year. How do you get 10% per year? For that, you must have a rate of investment which will be about 35% of the GDP. 35% of the GDP should be invested. Presently, today, it is only 28. So we must now raise it to 35. At one stage, we were about to go up, and then the corona came. But since then, no new thinking has gone in. So as far as the investment that is necessary to have a fast rate of growth, we must have a fast rate of growth. How fast a rate of growth can? According to me, if you properly make a budget, then you can grow at 10% per year. And if you go for 10% per year for 5 years, then all the problems will be solved. We'll overtake China. We will have full employment. We'll be a country which can do wonders. I used to say this in the early days when I first came into Parliament in the early 70s. And people used to laugh at it. This is all, dreams and so on and so forth. Then Narasimha Rao came, and he came very close because I was made a minister by Narasimha Rao in his government by establishing a committee of which I was made a chairman. And in that, he accepted my view. But unfortunately, the structuring of the budgets was not the way I wanted. As I told you, the structuring of the budget is stating of objectives, the priorities, the resource, the strategy, and the resource mobilization. So none of these budgets, even today, have anything of this kind. So what I would say today is that we have to identify this, and we have got with us a well-known expert here. He's not only a person who knows economics, but he's also a lawyer, and he will put across the present budget as he sees it, whether it is a growth budget, whether it is going to bring about lessening of inequalities, whether it's going to remove unemployment, all these questions which he will deal with. And I will also, of course, later on after he's finished, when I get a chance, I will also add more to it. But at this stage, I will say to you that what we are now being given is all bogus. Modi's government has been repeatedly saying from Arun Jaitley's time that we are growing at 6% and 7%. That's not correct, because if there is a decline and then the growth rate of the next year rises, then that's an artificial thing. For example, after the corona thing, the GDP fell by 17%. And then it was after the corona had gone away, the next year the growth rate was put at 6-7%. Well, it was not 7%; it's probably 4%. But the fact is that the other 3% is recovery. So recovery you cannot call as growth. So these are little aspects which are very important. And I would say that if I were to look at the Narendra Modi's period from 2014 till today, the growth rate average is about 4.5% per year, and not 6%, 7%, 8%, which they've been claiming. The only government I know which achieved 7% on the average was Narasimha Rao's government. But unfortunately, nobody appreciated Narasimha Rao. Even the Congress party ran him down. So I think let us go back and see what did Narasimha Rao do. Of course, Narasimha Rao removed nationalizations from most of the sectors. He done many of these economic changes. So the same way, I would say that what we have today to put across to you is what needs to be done so that we grow in a fast way and have a market economy in the proper sense. Over to Venkatesh.
Good evening, Doctor, and thanks to the Dr. Swamy team for inviting me on the budget. It's a privilege to be amongst knowledgeable people who know about the budget, numbers, economics. It's always a pleasure. The most dreadful thing, however, is Dr. Swamy will now speak after you. So that's like a real teacher who is going to come and tell what exactly he thinks. Of course, Dr. Swamy made an opening remark, and it was as sagacious as only he could be. Dr. Swamy put the nail right on the head when he says the growth numbers are itself a matter of concern, in the sense they're dodgy and one cannot trust it fully. And I will give you one simple example of this, and we will take this forward. The key thing in the budget was the rebate, not actually an exemption, but a rebate to the taxpayers through 87 capital A, and tell people that up to 12 lakhs, you still have to file returns, but you don't have to pay tax. So
MRV, sorry to bother you. We're not able to see your video.
You're not able to see my video. Okay.
Yeah, it's blank.
Okay.
Camera gone.
Yeah, then now it's okay. Now it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. I had probably switched on. Okay, no problem. Now, the issue, therefore, is that the government of the day has probably talked about 6%, 5%, 7% growth and being gaga about it. But the real growth rate that Dr. Swamy says is 4.5. And I think more or less I will agree with him. Very rarely do I agree with him also. And this is one occasion I will agree with him with some facts and figures. The GST came in the year 2017. And the first month of GST, we collected 90,000 crores in July 2017. We are now in July 25. We are a few months away, but we are just as close to it. And 8 years has elapsed. We are still not able to double GST collection on a consistent basis to 180,000 crores. Now that means the CAGR of GST collection over a period of 8 years is not more than 9%. Now, simple arithmetics tell you that 9% is of two important ingredients. One is, of course, the inflation factor. One is the growth factor. Now, even if you take the numbers given by the government that the last 9 years or 8 years has produced 5% inflation and subtract it from the 9% doubling, which probably will happen a couple of months away, you still get a 4% growth rate. If GST, as per my calculations, if the government numbers are correct, 7% growth plus 5%, 6% of inflation, we should have seen 13% CAGR over 8 years. We should have now touched something like 250,000 crores per month. It's not happening. So first and foremost, we are struggling at 4%. And the government of the day tells every single revenue collection department, whether it's IT, GST, customs, that go ahead and try to milk as much as possible. But the problem is you are milking an ox, you are not milking a cow. You are milking an ox and it cannot give you milk any further. So there is a huge problem of government not getting its revenue. So in turn, having got a license to go after and milk everybody, the officers have turned corrupt. They have turned toxic. That I will give you two people who are absolutely well-wishers of this government. Mohandas Pai, who says there is exorbitant tax terrorism that's going on. Surjit Bala, again, an economist who is favorably disposed to this government, says that the tax GDP has gone up to 20% and makes us uncompetitive when you compare with, say, countries which are in competition with us. No country has attained a super economic power status by taxing its citizens beyond a point. And I agree with Dr. Swamy that it's time probably for Narendra Modi government to rethink on income tax. They are saying that they will bring the income tax bill, a new income tax bill. My suggestion to the Modi government would be drop the taxation of individuals straight away. Don't tax individuals, just ask them to file a return and say what is their exact amount so that the corruption of the bureaucrats doesn't get passed off as income somewhere. So just keep a tab, and that's the only thing that you have to do. Interestingly, former economic advisors of the government, who are again probably looking at one more chance with the government, have revisited Dr. Swamy's document on multiplier effect of reducing taxes, and they now are waxing eloquence and telling us how reducing taxes will have a multiplier effect. This is elementary economics, and in taxation, this is the basic thing, that if you reduce taxes, you will have a multiplier effect. Now they are seeing virtues in multiplier effect, and they are touting as if they have now discovered it. And when they were chief economic advisors of the government, I don't see anything in their economic survey report. And this year's economic survey also says, Survey Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. It was asked to do a honest survey. It says everything is okay, everything is all right. And that is what I think is something that is paining me. Now, the effect of this, enormous amount of toxicity in the taxation system, enormous amount of tax jihadism, as I call it, tax terrorism, as Mohandas Pai calls it, tells us that the share of manufacturing, this is the core issue today. The share of manufacturing has fallen from 16% to less than 12.5%. That means in 2011, we were having a share of manufacturing of close to 16.5%. Today, it is less than 13%. We have dropped 3%. in the last 10, 15 years. This is despite Make in India. This is despite PLI scheme. This is despite government giving its attention. I'm not saying government is not giving its attention, but when you give your attention, you also send the IT, you also send the GST, you also send the DRI, you also send the customs, terrorize people, and then tell them you have to pay taxes. Unfortunately, government law officers are taking this to ridiculous levels, that every time we see in the courts that the government lawyers are bamboozling the courts, trying to terrorize the courts and telling them, if you don't interpret it this way, you will lose 30,000 crores, 40,000 crores in revenue. But the fact of the matter is, all these things have piled up and we have lost 3% of GDP in manufacturing. Let me put you it in numbers. We are today supposed to be around 4 trillion economy. The 4 trillion economy in current dollar terms is around 300 lakh crores. 3% of it would be something around 10 lakh crores. We have lost this manufacturing, and that's 120 billion. And let us see what is that we are closing. We are focusing on MSME, we are focusing on small industries, we are doing this, we are doing that. But next week we are going to celebrate Holi. The Holi powder will come from China. A few months later, there will be Vinayaka Chaturthi. The Vinayakars come from China. So, of course, the Vinayakar has a nose which is akin to the Chinese. You know, they make the Chinese nose the Vinayakar. So it's so funny that today, for small things, we are depending on China for imports. The trade with China is around 125 billion, and we export 25 billion, and Chinese export to us, or rather we import $100 billion. We run an extent of 75 billion, which is the manufacturing which we were lost. Of course, Manmohan Singh's time, this number was there. But instead of reversing this, this government has taken so much of efforts to see that manufacturing does not survive only through tax terrorism. Only through tax terrorism. And they found out that they gave corporates one of the best tax rates in the world. Manufacturing, corporates, one of the best tax rates in the world. We are most competitive. But tax bureaucracy is so toxic that nobody wants to invest. Nobody wants to see India as a destination. So you can put a rate of 15%, but if you say CBDT, people just run away. They don't want to invest in India. People don't want to see India as a destination. Next, the net result of it, you are taxing the individuals at a very high rate, and the share of savings rate. Dr. SUBRAMANIAN SWAMY talked about the corresponding rate would be the savings rate. The savings is 7% in 2008. Household savings have dropped. The savings rate too has dropped significantly. It has made a marginal recovery post-COVID, but we see that the savings rate is 4 to 5% lower, probably 7% lower than 2008. And compared to even 2014, our savings rate has dropped. Household savings are coming down, and we are transferring the net wealth from the most productive institution, namely family and individuals, to the most unproductive sector, namely the government. So what we are doing is 4%, what we are transferring is from the household to the government, and paying 7th pay commission and 8th pay commission and the 9th pay commission. And these, the very funny thing is the pay and the commission. The bureaucracy has a very funny name of paying itself. It says pay commission. So this is something I think we need to relook. Now, coming back to the apart from the savings rate, I think world over there is a realization governments beyond a point are useless. They cannot solve certain problems, whether it is of society or economy. Trump, for instance, realizes in his own way and tries to bring in Doji. And through Elon Musk, he wants to close departments after departments, ministries after ministries. Take Javier Milei, one of the great economists, I call him. He doesn't consider himself as an economist. He is probably one of those guys who is telling close government departments after departments, ministries after ministries. And why they are saying this? And what is the net effect of all these things? Do we see the numbers? Dr. Swamy, you said the amount of FDI today in 24 corresponds to what exactly we got as a percentage of government. So after 30 years, they say Shani Bhagwan does a full circle and comes back to the same spot. We have come to the same spot. We were 2.5% of the GDP, the FDI. I'm not a great fan of GDP, the FDI as something that has to be brought in. But it tells you the confidence of the world on India. It tells you how much people want to invest in India. And this has gone back as a confidence index. I see this as what we were in 91. This is something at the beginning of our reforms. People said we won't succeed. But I would say, let us look at it this way. Why did reforms happen in 91? People realized, people like Swamy were there at the helm of affairs. Chandrasekhar government, I think, tasked you with preparing a blueprint, Dr. Swamy. That's what you have written in your book. And Narasimha Rao carried it out because fate probably wanted him to carry out your blueprint to a logical conclusion. And basis your recommendations, these things happened, including several amendments to several laws. But today you see the index of government interference must be far higher than what it is in 91. We have got various laws, various rules, various schemes. I will just run through one thing that I captured. In the sense, it's very interesting that we were talking about a newly formed ministry under this government called Ayush. I went to its website. It says it has got 3 commissions or committees. So Ayush itself is a newly formed ministry. So it has got 3 commissions or committees, 7 autonomous bodies, 1 PSU, 13 academic institutions. Now, all these are basically costs, and we don't see what is actually bringing us a transformative change to what we wanted. Transformative change can happen only with where Dr. Swamy says 10%. 4% growth as what we are. I calculated it and demonstrated to you. Dr. Swamy has also said that. I am cocksure that if we think that our way to prosperity is to tax people, create yojanas, and then see that this will transform into this economy will transform into a superpower, sorry, it won't be. All yojanas are bhojanas. This must be the fundamental thing that we must understand. If my cow doesn't get pregnant, we say Pradhan Mantri Cow Pregnancy Yojana and put 2 joint secretaries, 1 secretary, 1 deputy secretary, so on and so forth. And we think the cow will get pregnant. Cow doesn't get pregnant because you have got a Pradhan Mantri Cow pregnancy program. It does get pregnant because of other reasons, not because the government interferes. For every damn thing, we want to bring in this amount of interference. Laws has to go, ministries have to go. Javier Milei, I'm told that he stands a good chance for Nobel Peace or Economics. I'm told also that the Prime Minister is going to meet President Trump next week. I think he can take a flight to Argentina or meet Javier Milei also and understand why we should have a steel ministry, why we should have a ministry for culture. Culture is something that a state, I can't understand why we should have a ministry for culture. And let me ask a question to all those who are telling that government has done this and government has done that. First, let us ask a question. Out of several temples, several places that we go, has there been a singular improvement because of the Ministry of Culture in the last 10, 12 years? Let us answer it faithfully. Now come to infrastructure. This government's plan was, I will do good things on infrastructure. I will leave the corporate sector to revive the economy, and I will tax my individual people. They realized that this formula, that the template that they had is not working. So they have realized that they will have to go to the drawing board once again. And that is why this tax reduction has happened. This reduction has happened because they realize they are in the wrong way. Infrastructure, let me tell you, this government has done phenomenally well on power, no doubt about it. But in shipping, I think we are lagging behind. We can't call one port as something that will compete with the international ports. Then comes to railways. We are very late. We still say 80 kilometers is super express. I would say anything less than 200 kilometers is bullock cart on steroids. Okay, we have bullock carts on steroids passing off as express trains, but we are progressing, but progressing very slowly on trains. When it comes to housing, rural housing, we are doing something, but it is still not at up and going there to a scale where it is transformative. And as far as urban infrastructure is concerned, we are just nowhere there. The smart city program is nowhere to be seen. We don't have any 1 kilometer of road where we can tell anybody in the world that, look, we have got a road that's amazing, that's world class, and there you can zip across. We may build patches of highways, that's okay, but city infrastructure is crumbling. And on civil aviation, I'm sorry to say, last 10, 12 years, we should have built 200 greenfield airports. That's the type of transformative change we are looking at. We are building the first one, which is going to come up in Noida. And even there, the access from Delhi is not there. It will take another 10 years to build metro connections to it. So we have to see whether it will become profitable in the year 2035. Now, no nation has become a superpower by empowering the state. That's a limited one with the West. But to us, what is missing is Hindutva economics in action. Economics has multivarious ways of dealing with it. Some countries even have 45-50% tax to GDP ratio. Their people don't grumble. Their people are very happy because Scandinavian countries, for instance, have a very high tax and a very high tax to GDP ratio. They are very happy about it in the sense the people want it that way. But people like us would like the state to be a residual one. We do not want the state to come in and interfere at every damn thing. The state has not yet realized its limitations. It believes, as did Nehru's times, as in Narendra Modi's times, the state believes that it can always interfere in the lives of the people, and it has all the wisdom, all the ideas, every sort of thinking that will ensure that it can guide the citizenry to prosperity. Unfortunately, in our system, it doesn't work like this. Lastly, the elephant in the room will be both the elephant in the room is the Indian rupee, and of course Donald Trump's threat of tariffs. And if he is going to levy tariffs all across the world, then it is going to be that China may start playing the spoil sport. It may start dumping materials which it originally thought of exporting it to US. It may find markets like India as a destination. And that may ensure that our rupee further weakens. And we, unfortunately, I do not know what is the thinking. Mathematically, it's an impossibility. We reduced the interest rate, the repo rate last week. The RBI reduced the repo rate when the rupee was under tremendous pressure. And by trying to keep the rupee constant, we lost $70 to $80 billion. Our peak reserves in September were around $720 billion. From there, it has fallen to 630, 640 in the last 3 or 4 months. We lost somewhere around $70 billion defending the rupee, and thought by defending the rupee, you will defend the stock market. Now, neither did you defend the rupee, neither did you defend the stock market. And finally, what has happened is rupee has stumbled, stock market has also collapsed. All these things were very serious issues we are facing, and we still do not know whether our economic nirvana is through a strong rupee or a weak rupee. Swami sir bats for a very strong rupee. I am not a fan. I disagree with him, and I had very intense discussion with him that probably our economic nirvana is through weaker rupee. But when China depreciates, when Korea depreciates, Philippines depreciates, what is your other alternative but to release the pressure on the rupee? You could have done it in September, October. Probably you could have done it so. Probably Shaktikanta Das wanted to hold on to the rupee, thinking that if he holds on for 3 more months, he would get an extension. I do not know, but strange are the ways people think. And there is also a rumor that is going on. He held on. That is why it could not. But now that the new man has come in, he has allowed it to depreciate because it can be blamed on the previous man, and he can start it with a cleaner state. I do not know what exactly is the rupee story, but rupee is under tremendous pressure in 25. Concomitantly, the stock market will be under tremendous pressure. So if you ask me the budget speech, You could have put it in ChatGPT or your DeepSeek of the last 30 years budget and asked them to produce a 30-40 minute speech, and they could have given you this. There is nothing exciting about it. There is nothing transformative about it. And finally, it is again a sort of a hold-on exercise. It is something that it will be that 4%, 5%. And for something to happen to graduate from here to from 4 or 5% to 10%, we require some out-of-the-box thinking, out of the ideas, out of state thinking of what they think as plans, programs, and departments and allocations. We need to think beyond the box, beyond normative thinkings. I'm sorry to say this budget is a holding on exercise. It will hold on from where it is. It is not at all transformative. India wants a transformative budget. And if you see what is happening around the world, in China is talking about DeepSeek. We are talking about taxing caramelized popcorn. That is our thought process itself is something terribly wrong. We need to think about innovation. We think to allow entrepreneurs to flourish. We have to understand that the growth of a nation is only through entrepreneurs, scientists, teachers, saints, philosophers, artists, not through bureaucrats. We have unnecessarily targeted and strengthened the bureaucrats in the last 10 years. We have to undo this. Once we undo this, we have a great story unfolding by itself in the next few years. Thanks again for all of you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
A few remarks before I hand it over to Jagdish. First of all, people ask me, if you want to do something now, what needs to be done? I say, first, abolish income tax. Full. There, no 10%, 5% like now. Fully. People say, oh, where are you going to get the money from for the budget and things like that? I said, that's a silly question. Why? Because if you abolish income tax, people have more money in their hands. They will go and out and buy something, and that will have indirect tax, and you will get the money from indirect tax. And then the demand, because of the abolition of income tax, people will produce more in the industries, and that would lead to another increase for. So this fear that is caused, income tax goes, what will happen? What is the income tax today? It is on the middle class and nobody else, because the rich people have chartered accountants, including our friend here who's sitting here. He's one of the best known chartered accountants, and he can make the tax to be paid by rich people down to zero. So the income tax today, the rich don't pay because they've got chartered accountants. The poor are below the line, so they are not there. It's the poor middle class who earn a salary. On that, they try to give good education to their children. These are the people who are paying the income tax. And this income tax is then put to what use? We just don't know. The agricultural sector, zero income tax. Never has been, agriculture has never been taxed. There are lots of very rich people who are doing in agriculture. There are, of course, a lot of poor people too, but the fact is the rich people don't pay any income tax in agriculture. So this is one. Second, lower the rate of interest for loans to be extended. In my opinion, in America, they give it at 2%. I don't think we have reached, we can immediately go to the American level. But presently, you have between 9 and 12% you have to pay to get loans. Interest rate of 9 to 12%. I would say make sure that people can get the loan for just 5%. If you do that, there will be a boom, because people will take that and then use it. That will start the machine from moving. The economy, you please understand, is an interlocking thing. It is not one shopkeeper arguing with one buyer. You see, it's an interacting thing. Third thing is, if you have you print notes and use it for building roads. Who are going to be the gainers? The poor people who are presently sitting on the roads itself. The people who don't have any employment at the poor level, they will get an opportunity. Like that, the same way you can use the fact that once you start building roads, building various other things which are required for industry, you will find that employment will increase. And if employment increase, then obviously they'll go and buy, and that will create a market. So this interaction between the economy, between buying and selling, it will completely change. So therefore, when you lower the interest rate for getting loans from the banks, that money actually goes to generate the economy. I don't understand why we should have to pay 9% and 12% interest for getting a loan. And similarly, for if any person puts in for a long period deposit in a bank as a saving, that should have not less than 9%. That should get 9%. And then you'll see people come and put their money in the banks for savings, because they want to say you give them a 5-year period and give it at 9%. So these are the things that need to be done. It was done in America after they gave up the stupid classical economics theories, and due to the big collapse in the American economy, this kind of thing was started by Roosevelt, and the whole American economy boomed. I can say today, Narasimha Rao was hamstrung by the Congress party, otherwise he would have done all these things. But what he did in 5 years is something nobody else has done so far. That is, relax these things, lower the income tax, make sure that the money of the income tax goes into the people, enable the people to go and buy. So the input-output analysis that needs to be done of the economy, if you do it, you will never be afraid of lowering income tax or above. I, of course, want the income tax to be completely abolished, because the agriculture sector doesn't pay. The rich people have chartered accountants, and the poor people don't have to pay. They're below the level, and it's only the middle class who are harassed by income tax officials, and they live. Their poor people are they're middle class, but they are treated almost like as if they are some kind of criminals when the income tax starts working with them. So this must go completely as a start. Then lower the interest rates for getting loans, and raise the interest rate for those who put money in the bank as deposits. And this way, the Indian economy will grow at 10% per year. And if it grows at 10% per year for 10 years, then you will see that we'll be ahead of China, and we'll be in the striking distance of the United States of America. Okay, on to Jagdish.
Arvind, with your comments, then we'll go to CA T.K. Swaminathan. And then
thank you, Jagdish. Let me start with the basic principles of budget which Dr. Swamy had described earlier. In fact, I have been saying this earlier in other programs also. If the Indian Finance Ministry people, if they have read the Bible of Budgeting and Economy, which is written by Dr. Swamy, the book called Reset, they would understand the objectives of the budget and the priorities and the resource mobilization, etc. So I would say the first thing which Dr. Swamy said, this budget has failed once again. Why? The objective and the growth targets which were to be set, Modi has been saying for a number of years that I look 25 years ahead. He has been talking about Viksit Bharat 2047. And for 2047, he has dreamt an Indian economy worth $25 trillion. Now, as MRV said in the beginning, we are close to $4 billion. Now, if you correct, if you take the growth rate from here to 2047, it requires 9.01% growth rate per year, net growth. Now, that means this budget or any other budget, previous budgets presented by Nirmala Sitharaman, have not mentioned anything which is about the target, how to reach that 2047. This year again, they are talking about 6.4, 6.5, 6.6, but this is far away from the target of Viksit Bharat, number one. Number two, when we talk about priorities, that Dr. Swamy has said, in poor country or developing country like India, priorities we have been talking about are roti, kapda or makan. No vision और नो मेंशन अबाउट हाउ टू ब्रिज द डिस्पैरिटी, जो समाज में विषमता है, गरीब और अमीर की जो खाई है जो बढ़ती जा रही है ओवर ए पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. नो लाइन, not even single line is mentioned in the budget about how to bridge this gap between the poor, extreme poor and the extreme rich. So therefore that is the lack of priority. Education, health, though the government talks about a lot of schemes about the health, they have also said that in insurance they will bring FDI from 74%, they will increase it to 100%. Good suggestion. But what about implementation of that? What has the government has said in previous budget schemes that there is a scheme called PLI in order to increase the manufacturing sector growth and bring the Make in India success. Now, no review of PLI has taken place, whether PLI has been given in the right sectors or not, to the right kind of industries or not. No review has been done on PLI. Where we are talking about hodgepodge budget without any priorities. Good names, good acronyms have been used in order to attract the people, just to say that budget is very attractive. In agriculture, they talk about a lot of new schemes. They talk about Dhan Dhan Yojana. They talk about high yielding varieties. Now, high yielding varieties, if you look at it, in 1966, 50 years back, 60 years back, MS Swaminathan had started this idea. And now they are talking about high yielding varieties. When you talk about high yielding varieties, they may produce, but what about MSP to farmers? Farmers after farmers are committing suicide and they are on agitation for years after years, but no talk about MSP in this budget for the farmer. So when we talk about agriculture, there are certain schemes, but then they talk about self-sufficiency in urea. Atmanirbharta in urea, 100% import of potassic fertilizer, there is no mention. For years after years, last 60, 70 years, the moment we started using fertilizers, we have not produced potassic fertilizers. We are only concentrating on nitrogenous fertilizers and phosphatic fertilizers. Potassic fertilizers have 100% import. We are not talking about any substitution of import. I mean, so where is the vision? And I repeat that again at the cost of repetition, that this budget lacks a vision. This budget lacks a direction. This budget is ad hoc, and this budget is temporary. This budget is hodgepodge. They talk about, I'm just mentioning few things because everything cannot be covered in a few minutes. They talk about Bharati Bhasha Pustak Yojana. They say digital books will be available for school children in Indian languages. But have they reviewed what has been said earlier in the National Education Policy 2020 about the Indian languages? There are no takers. Engineering colleges have been offering engineering education in Indian languages, Telugu, Marathi, Hindi, Gujarati, but where are the students? Teachers have been appointed, faculty has been appointed for Indian languages, but students are not there because the students know that when they do engineering degree in regional languages, there is no employment. And coming back to employment, when we talk about priorities, roti, kapda, makan, we have been suffering from employment for quite some time now. Is there any scheme given for employment in this budget? Has any funds been allocated for employment in this budget? Though there are certain good things I've already said about FDI insurance, R&D, research and development in innovation, very good. 20,000 crores has been allocated. And they talk about export promotion scheme, but they've not given any detail. They've not given any allocation. So I'm saying this is more slogan mongering. It is more creating slogan for the public to attract goody things, but actually on ground, I think this budget lacks vision and this budget lacks direction.
Yes, Ramesh, before we go to TK Swaminathan.
Okay. Do you want me to start or you want
Yeah, you can start.
Okay. I have 3 slides and it's basically for a bunch of questions I want to ask. So Dr. Swamy, this is, I'm picking up from what MRV said about the size of the bureaucracy in India. Okay. If you notice, Dr. Swamy, based on some rough figures, we have about 275,000 employees in these about 56 ministries. So if you look at, I've highlighted 3, if you notice, the Ministry of Finance has 150,000 employees. Ministry of Education, 1,000 employees. Ministry of Textile, 4,200. I think there's a serious lack. I don't know where Ministry of Communications has 420,000 employees. It is mind-boggling that these numbers are like this. Okay, so I don't know what they're communicating, who they're communicating. Is it the IT cell that has ballooned to 420,000? I don't know. What that Ministry of Communications, it is mind-boggling numbers. So, Dr. Swamy, the first question, if you look at the other reason that I highlighted Ministry of Finance, if you look at the cost of salary and allowance, it is 17,636 crores, right? You know what is the average salary per employee there is? It's exactly less than 11.86 crores, 11.86 lakhs per year, which is exactly below the 12 lakh threshold limit. Almost all employees in the Ministry of Finance are going to pay 0 tax. Okay. Second interesting slide, Dr. Swamy. If you notice here, this is the cost per employee in every department. Highest is Ministry of Minority Affairs. I don't know what they're doing. Look at Ministry of Finance. I told you, right? Cost per employee is 1 lakh. If you look at its cost per employee is about 11.8 lakhs per year. Exactly below the threshold limit of 12 lakhs. Isn't it brilliant as to how they achieved that? Only Ministry of Finance with so many 150,000 employees. They say, oh, it's averaged out and all this. But I'm just saying, these are some things that we can subtly notice. This is data from the budget, Dr. Swamy. These are not cooked up data. This is data from the budget. Last slide, I'll just put it out there. The government said, oh, we are increasing the taxable limit to 12 lakhs. So we are going to lose 1 lakh crores and boosting consumption. But on the contrary, the same budget paper says for 24-25, we are going to increase. We are going to have an increased tax on income. How? And the last question to MRV and you, Dr. Swamy, by increasing this to 12 lakhs, roughly 0.7% of the public is going to pay tax. Why the hell do you need 150,000 employees in Ministry of Finance to collect tax from 1 crore people? I leave it at this. And Dr. Swamy, your comments first, and then MRV can come.
My point is where my answer is very short. Abolish income tax, and all these things will fall in its place. The whole problem is this, and it has to be. People worry about where the money will come from for the government if you abolish income tax. You've got indirect taxes. You've got plenty of that. And if people start buying more because they have been saved income tax, then that level indirect tax will also grow up. So this is the interlocking thing about this, what we call as input-output analysis. This input-output analysis is so complicated, but once you understand it, you know there are so many things you can do. Abolishing of income tax will lead to more taxes for the government to other sources. So, this is the main focus. I'm not, you have made a very good point here, but I rather not deal with this because it's a matter of it is going away from the macro aspects of what I want to put across.
I think we can ask Swaminathan, TK
One second, let
Swaminathan.
me see. Yeah, 1 second. So MRB, if we need a Doge in India, Ministry of Home has, just look at the Ministry of Home Affairs, has 11,32,000 employees. Don't you think
Yeah.
we definitely need a Doge in India? This is absolute nonsensical kind of employees being put in a ministry.
Absolutely. In the sense, that is why I suggested, even before Doge came in, the idea of Doge comes somewhere in October, November. But Javier Milei has been talking about this from the fall of 23. And he has been successful in doing this. We require a Doge in India and perhaps Dr. Swamy to head it.
You'll give a heart attack to Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman.
No, let them continue with finance and other clerical things. We require something transformative like Doge to come into India. And that's why I want somebody who thinks closing ministry like textiles, like steel, like affairs, like your culture. 80 of them has to go. 80 departments, 90 departments.
Modi will get very jealous if you say that. So be careful. Don't make it public too much. Yes.
Got it, sir. So, yeah. Sir, technically speaking, in my view, this is the first budget of the refreshed third term of the government. If I look at it that way, there's no great ideas or a transformative thing which we are call it up. It's a kind of sane, dull budget which you have been doing. It looks like they themselves haven't thought that they will win the mandate and be the chair. So somehow it has been given to them. Now they want to present a budget in that way. They have to. So I don't see a transformative ideas in terms of bringing up bridging the inequality that's happening in India between the rich and poor. If you look at the data, the difference between rich and poor is very wide now and it is very steep. And we have been discussing in the past that there is no effort that has been taken by the government to bridge this gap. Two things just would like to allude to what MRV sir was saying. A corporate is taxed on the profit, whereas an individual is taxed on his income itself. That's a huge body blow for any individual who is having an income. There is a vast difference between you categorize my entire income as a profit and you lock, stock and barrel apply 35% on it. Apart from it, I have to bear, like GST volcano as well. Therefore, we need to be mindful when we offer a tax soaps. We can't be compared with artificial judicial entities like corporates. So government should be more considerate in terms of giving more tax concessions, or as Dr. Swamy says, abolish income tax once for all, because it's not serving anybody's purpose. It's just pure harassment for us. Third thing, which as a professional which you are looking for, is there are various alternate forms of currency that has come into play. Say, for example, crypto or anything. But unfortunately, our government is clueless in terms of understanding how the currency operates. But the world is going that way. If you look at Trump, is moving his direction or steering in the direction of crypto. But here we have just an income tax act to state that doing a crypto is somewhat illegal, but nevertheless, you should offer to tax. So we are absolutely clueless about growing different forms of currency, which we should be on top of things, guiding things. That's the key area which we have missed so far. Is my short summation on this.
Dr. Swamy and MRV, I have one or two questions on behalf of the viewers. One question to Dr. Swamy is it is from one Dhirendra Shah from Karnavati, Gujarat. Mr. Dhirendra Shah wants to know what, according to you, should be the price of the rupee and dollar ratio. What should be the correct price versus the dollar? So could you tell our viewers what is the issue? This is the question from Gujarat.
Since the present system of the government of India is to fix the exchange rate, I would say that on that basis, the correct price that should be for a dollar should be just 8 rupees and not 89 rupees as we have it now today.
Dr. Swamy, why you think it should be 8 rupees?
Because if you take commodities and see, or you take one pizza produced in India, pizza is as good in India as it's in America. And then you see the American pizza price, you will find that it is 1 to 8. How is it 1 to 87? If you're going to pay $1 for the equivalent of $1 of for pizza, you will get about 100 pizzas for it. So I am saying that you go by commodities. You take rice, see the price in the American market, see the price in the Indian market. So it's a work I've done a lot of on index numbers. You see, the way to fix the income tax, the exchange rate, is to take a series of commodities in the United States and get it in dollars, get the Indian one in rupees, and then make the ratio, and you will get 1 to 8. This is called purchasing power parity, as somebody has kindly put out in our below our speeches.
Yes, in one of our comments.
So the way for developing the price of Indian rupee vis-a-vis America is to go and see the commodities and see their prices, and then take the division and then put it together, either add them all and divide by the total number that you have brought in, and you will get 1 to 8. I've done this calculation for China. I've done this calculation for the United States. I got books already, which are now considered classics, particularly in the India-China comparisons. So who are these people fooling? I have also written a letter in 2016 to Narendra Modi that please ask any member of the finance ministry or the planning commission, or whatever it is now called, and ask them to come and debate with me. But nobody is willing to come because they know I know the subject. There was one Tamil in the financing ministry. When I wrote a letter to Mr. Modi that asked him to come and argue with me, he immediately applied for a job in World Bank, and he has gone there because he says, I don't want to get into this mess. Nobody in the government today is got the guts to say that the minister is wrong or the prime minister is wrong, that this is how it should be. I'm not saying they should say it publicly. Let them send a letter, or the prime minister can write me a letter. I will I'll send it to them. You see. So I think the real question is that our people are not fit for being economy. For dealing with the economic system. They only go by caste system and this system and that system, money system. Money is really for the elections. That is the way they're running it, and it's same true for the Congress party. The Congress party is also a bunch of jokers who don't know any economics, and they made a royal mess. The only person in the Congress party who has showed his backbone was Narasimha Rao, and you know what the Congress party ultimately did to him. Manmohan Singh could not have done what he did for Mr. Narasimha Rao, and if Narasimha Rao's backing was not there. And since I had a minister rank position with Narasimha Rao, I've seen Manmohan Singh come almost in tears because he was being abused by a lot of the congressmen, but who didn't dare to speak to Narasimha Rao. So this is the atmosphere today, you see. So unless the public rises in revolt, I don't think there's any hope that we can reform our economy to that point.
Dr. Swamy, there's a follow-up question by a viewer, Arvind Patel from Surat. He wants to know that how does China fix its pricing versus the dollar? What is the mechanism used by China? They want to know.
They just make an announcement. That's all.
Means
There's
one-sided
nobody-
announcement by China.
By China, one-sided announcement by China. That's right.
And that is accepted in the international trade.
No, that is exactly, because ultimately, if you say 8 rupees to a dollar, then you'll have to give a dollar once you you should be able to export enough to be able to give in dollars to the Americans if you buy from the Americans. So that's where the catch comes. But for that, you have to have a calculation. I'm not suggesting that you have 1 rupee to $1. I'm saying 8 rupees to a dollar. Why? Because I've done the arithmetic of it. After taking the prices of all the commodities, putting it into a matrix, and taking a comparison with the American dollar, and I get this figure of 1 rupee is equal to, or $1 is equal to 8 rupees.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Swamy, for that very interesting clarification. Another viewer from Mumbai has a question for M.R. Venkatesh. The gentleman name is Manoj Mehta. He would like to know from Mr. M.R. Venkatesh, Dr. M.R. Venkatesh, if the economy is blooming as the government is claiming, then why is the stock market going down? He wants to know what is the facts that some of the Andbucks and Gunbucks were saying that the economy is booming. Look at the stock market indexes. So he wants to know what is the fact behind the stock market not being very receptive to what the finance minister has done, and even previously.
Okay, the first two questions arose from Gujarat, and mercifully you put it to Mr. Dr. Swamy, and you have kept me out of Gujarat. Thank you very much for that. And now the question comes from Mumbai. You are asking me, so I'm grateful to you. So the political dimension was put to Dr. Swamy. Now, as far as this question is concerned, see, the stock market is far too intelligent. It comprises, that's why we say the market is always has the billion plus views, and it has its own views and takes of the economy. And it is not bound by what the Sarkari economists say or what the government says or what the RBI says. It has its own mind. It may be wrong. That's a different point. But it has its own mind. And for the last 8-10 months, the market was at unease with what the government was projecting about itself. And there was an exit which has almost become an exodus in the stock market. Because the government numbers were not actually reflective of what was happening at the ground level. And there was some sort of unease. FIIs have left the country, and they have left in hordes. They don't believe. They are right or wrong, I'm not into that. I'm only telling you that they don't believe that what the government is trying to tell them and persuade them that all is well, all is well. Amir Khan can get it done in 3 idiots, but the stock market cannot believe it. And they say all is not well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for that update.
Dr. Swamy or MR, you can take this question. There are a bunch of questions about BRICS because Trump has now warned. I mean, is BRICS going to be an important factor at all?
Well, if you're asking me,
yes, sir. You go first, and then if MR, we can jump in there.
In 2016, Narendra Modi asked me to become the president of the BRICS Bank. And I told him that it's a big fraud. I'm not going to leave India. I've left America to come here, that to Harvard. And I'm not going to go to China and sit there. The BRICS Bank is nothing but a toy for the Chinese. And I would not think that it will ever be a factor in the international market.
MRV, you have any?
BRICS was basically an esoteric idea. It was a club meeting, that's all. So luckily, Dr. Swamy saw through this game, and he did not want to be a club goer at the age of whatever he is, that and start whining and dining with people in the evening. Nothing more. See, BRICS was never supposed to deliver something concrete. like G20. It's a meeting of people. That's all. You have to hold it at that point itself. Nothing big, nothing
Yes.
small.
Arvindji, closing comments. You are muted, sir.
Arvind, you are muted.
I think today's discussion covers almost every aspect of the budget 2025. But as you see, this is the topic which spans from not only geographic parts of India, but even the different cultures and different levels of economy. And MRV represented today not only chartered accountants, but he represented a corporate view also. He is also a lawyer, so he actually had covered all the aspects in a beautiful manner. And I think our viewers must be today satisfied that yes, today's budget discussion has been very fruitful. Dr. Swamy, as usual, initiated the discussion covering all the aspects in the beginning. What should be the narrative of today's discussion? And he covered basics of the budget making. And as I said, he has been emphasizing this time and again that any budget exercise should have 4 priorities. And these 4 priorities he again reiterated today. And I think our budget makers and planners should pay attention to these 4 priorities and follow that so that the budget will be more meaningful and successful. Thank you, MRV, for joining us after a long time in 257th episode. Dr. Swamy, thank you for providing the new visit. Swaminathan, Jagdish Shetty, Ramesh Swamy, our technical team, which has facilitated the success of this program for more than 4 years now. In fact, we are entering almost the 5th year now, led by Ashish Shetty, Swaminathan, Tejas Navalgul, Gadgi Rakesh, Ishwar Iyer, Ajesh Nair, and Gurdat Shetty. Thank you, this team. Wonderful work and wonderful expressions today by Dr. Swamy and MRV. Thank you very much. We'll be meeting again next Sunday with a new episode of Words of Wisdom Gyan Ganga on Sunday, 16th February. Till then, Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.